The giants. But if you are so nice and friendly, then why did you snatch me from my bed and run away with me? Because you saw me, the big friendly giant answered. If anyone is ever seeing a giant, he or she must be taken away hip switch. Why? Well, first of all, human beings is not really believing in giants, is they? Human beings is not thinking we exist. I do, Sophie said. Ah, but that is only because you have seen me. I cannot possibly allow anyone, even little girls, to be seeing me and staying at home. The first thing you would be doing, you would be scuttling around, yodeling the news that you were actually seeing a giant, and then a great giant hut, a mighty giant look-see would be starting up all over the world. And the human beings all rummaging for the great giant you saw and getting wildly excited. People would be coming and rushing and bushing after me with goodness knows what, and they would be catching me and looking me into a cage to be stared at. They would be putting me into the zoo or the bunkin house with all those squiddly hippo dumplings and crocodile dillies. Sophie knew that what the giant said was true. If any person reported actually having seen a giant haunting the streets of a town at night, there would most certainly be a terrific hullabaloo across the world. I will bet you that you would have been splashing the news all over the wonky world, wouldn't you, if I hadn't wiggled you away? I suppose I would, Sophie said. And that would never do, said the BFG. So what will happen to me now? If you go back, you will be telling the whole world, most likely on the telly bunkum box and the radio squeaker. So you will just have to be staying here with me for the rest of your life. Oh no, oh yes, but I am warning you not to ever go whiffling about out of this cave without I is with you, or you'll be coming to an ucky-mucky end. I is showing you now who is going to eat you up if they is ever catching one tiny little glimpse of you. The big friendly giant picked Sophie up off the table and carried her to the cave entrance. He rolled the huge stone to one side and said, "Peep over there, little girl, and tell me what you is seeing." Sophie, sitting on the BFG's hand, peeped out of the cave. The sun was up now and shining fiery hot over the great yellow wasteland and its blue rocks and dead trees. Is you seeing them? Sophie, squinting through the glare of the sun, saw several tremendous tall figures moving among the rocks about 500 yards away. 3 or 4 others were sitting quite motionless on the rocks themselves. This is giant country, the BFG said. Those is all giants, every one. It was a brain-boggling sight. The giants were all naked except for a sort of short skirt around their waist, and their skins were burnt by the sun. But it was the sheer size of each one of them that boggled Sophie's brain most of all. They were simply colossal, far taller and wider than the big friendly giant upon whose hand she was now sitting. And oh, how ugly they were. Many of them had large bellies. All of them had long arms and big feet. They were too far away for their faces to be seen clearly, and perhaps that was a good thing. What on earth are they doing? Sophie asked. Nothing. That is just moochling and foochling around and waiting for the night to come. Then they will all be galloping off to places where people is living to find their suppers. You mean to Turkey? Bone-crunching giants will be galloping to Turkey, of course, but the others will be whiffling out to all sorts of flung-away places like Wellington for the booty flavor and Panama for the hatty taste. Every giant having his own favorite hunting ground. Do they ever go to England? Often. They say the English is tasting ever so wonderfully of Krogskoppel. I'm not sure I quite know what that one means. Meanings is not important. I cannot be right all the time. Quite often I is left instead of right. And are all those beastly giants over there really going off again tonight to eat people? Sophie asked. All of them is guzzling human beings every night, all of them excepting me. That is why you'll be coming to an ucky-mucky end if any of them should ever be getting his gogglers upon you. You would be swallowed up like a piece of frumpkin pie, all in one dollop. But eating people is horrible. It's frightful. Why doesn't someone stop them? And who, please, is going to be stopping them? Asked the BFG. Couldn't you? Said Sophie. Never in a pig's whistle. All of those man-eating giants is enormous and very fierce. They is all at least 2 times my wideness and double my royal highness. Twice as high as you? Cried Sophie. Easily that. You is seeing them in the distance, but just wait till you get them up close up. Those giants is all at least 50 feet tall with huge muscles and cockles alive-o. I is the titchy one, I is the runt. 24 feet is puddle nuts in giants country. Well, you mustn't feel bad about it. I think you are just great. Why, even your toes must be as big as sausages. Bigger, said the BFG, looking pleased. They is as big as bumple hammers. How many giants are there out there? Sophie asked. 9 altogether. That means that somewhere in the world, every single night, 9 wretched people get carried away and eaten alive. More. It is all depending, you see, on how big the human beings is. A Japanese beans is very small, so a giant will need to gobble up 6 Japanese before he's feeling full up. Others, like the Norway people and the Yankee Doodles, is ever so much bigger, and usually 2 or 3 of those makes it for a good tuck-in. But do these disgusting giants go to every single country in the world? All countries excepting Greece is getting visited sometime or another. The country which a giant visits is depending on how he is feeling. If it is very warm weather and a giant is feeling as hot as a sizzle pan, he will probably go galloping up to the Frisbee North to get himself an Esquimau or 2 to cool him down. A nice fat Esquimau is like to a giant, is like a lovely ice cream lolly to you. I'll take your word for it. And then again, if it is a frosty night and the giant is frigid with cold, he will probably point his nose towards the sweltering hotlands to guzzle a few Hottentots to warm him up. How perfectly horrible. Nothing hots a cold giant up like a hot Hottentot. And if you were to put me down on the ground and I was to walk out among them now, would they really eat me up? Like a whittle. And what is more, you is so small they wouldn't even have to chew you. The first one to be seen you would pick you up in his fingers and down you go like a drop of drain water. Let's go back inside. I hate even watching them.